Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Real Estate Podcast. I am Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer of HomeSmart International.
And I'm Rich LaRue, Vice President of Corporate Brokerages for the Western Region for HomeSmart and the designated broker in Phoenix.
Thank you all for joining us today. We have an exciting topic to talk about today, and I want to read you something before I actually tell you the title of today's podcast. At 211 degrees, water is hot. At 212 degrees, it boils. And with boiling water comes steam. And steam can power a locomotive. I remember the first time, Rich, you and I had a discussion about 212 degrees.
Yep.
There is a book by Sam Parker and Mac Anderson called 212 Degrees, The Extra Degree. And I don't remember if it was you that bought me this book or someone else that bought me this book, but instantly, within a couple minutes, I understood the concept of it, and it impacted me almost immediately.
Todd, I'm really excited about doing this segment with you. And I don't know if I bought you that book or not. I know that somewhere along the line, I did give you a copy of the book, but over the years, I've got different copies of it too. But it impacted me so much when I first heard this idea that it really did change my life.
So today's episode is all about 212 degrees. It's the extra degree. That's what we are talking about. So we're going to talk about the concept of the 212 degrees. And then we're going to talk about the opportunity that concept creates for us. And then we're going to talk about how we actually apply that to our lives. And hopefully
It's going to be fun.
Weave in a couple stories along the way. But, again, we read this already, at 212 degrees, water's hot. At 211, it's hot. And then at 212, it boils and it creates steam, and steam can power a locomotive, a train. One extra degree makes all the difference.
And it really is that in our lives. It is about that one extra degree, whatever that may be in the moment.
Right, but when you think about it, I mean, those, big, long trains that are being pulled and pulling all that weight, without that one extra degree, it just sits still.
It does. But and that's our life.
One extra degree, and it can pull and move and go all the way across the country and can do all these things. And yes, that is our life. So a couple examples. I highly recommend that all of you, if you haven't watched the video on the internet, there's a promo video.
You can find it on YouTube.
On YouTube? Okay.
Yeah.
And then also the audiobook. There's an audiobook. You can find it on Audible or other streaming sources and listen to the book. It's a great listen. And it's
short.
Especially if you apply it to your business.
It's a small book. It's a thin book.
Small little book. But when you actually dig into the book and you start to talk about, the opportunity then now, or the concept rather, of the whole thing, it's not just for the train and a locomotive. It's with our life.
It is. And
it's in so many ways. And so one that stood out to me are a couple. The average margin of victory for the last 25 years in all major golf tournaments combined.
2.68 strokes, less than 3 strokes.
And that's less than 3 strokes here.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
And so to me, that's that little extra degree is life-changing.
It creates exponential results.
And so it immediately makes me start to think in my own life, am I giving it all in every way, on everything that I want to accomplish? And could I be doing a little bit better and a little bit more? And I know from having discussions with you about this, as it applies to our real estate business, right?
Right, yeah.
What could the extra degree do to a real estate agent, a realtor? How could it impact their business? And I know you have a lot of experience working with agents on this very topic.
Well, and when I was first introduced to this concept, Todd, it was highly focused on real estate. And we were in a down market then as well. We're kind of in a down market now, and we have a lot of agents going, what do I do? what do I do in my business today? What can I do today that will move the needle?
Right.
And so many of us are quick to throw out everything that we're doing and to start over. And what I'm going to suggest to you is maybe you don't need to throw everything out. Maybe you don't have to go 180 degrees away from what you're doing.
Right.
Maybe all you have to do is make an adjustment that is 1 degree differently. Now, I do realize that I'm using degrees in different contexts there. We're talking temperature, and we're also talking degrees of motion, but it's also very much like if you're sailing a boat and you have your destination picked out, but you're 1 degree off, where are you going to end up?
It can
because
be a long way
over
off
time
course over
it can be way off.
Right.
And so yes, I do realize that we'll use these ideas, these concepts interchangeably, but it is all about that 1 extra degree.
Well, and I've heard you say, and I've actually been inspired by you when you say, when this impacted you in your life, and we'll talk more about this as we get into how we apply it to our lives, but your pursuit of 1 extra degree every day.
Yeah.
And what the impact that gives. So using the PGA Tour example, or the golf tournament example, the margin of victory is just so small. That little extra effort really does make all the difference in the world. The locomotive, the difference makes.
Think about the last time you watched the Olympics and how those athletes are competing and how each and every one of them are true gold medalists in their own right, competing against one another. And the margin of victory is so small. The difference between a gold medal and no medal it's minuscule in most cases. Milliseconds, yeah.
And you're right. And then, we're talking about, the concept of it, it broadens it even into the big picture of giving up or giving that extra degree. There's a quote in the book. It says, "Many of life's failures are men who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Do you know who that quote's from?
I do, but you get to tell the audience.
It's from Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
So many of life's
10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb.
And then one more.
And then the power of one more. He tried one more time.
And he created light.
And he finally found the way.
And the hair on the back of my neck just stood up there a little bit because, would I have given up? And right now I have we're doing this podcast for all of you real estate agents out there. And I've talked to some of you when you're struggling before. And there's moments where some of you maybe be struggling with the business and do I want to stay in real estate? And I've seen many of you when you first got into the business and you struggled, but we encouraged you and we said, no, keep going, master your craft, get a little better. And a couple years later, you're on stage getting a 3-diamond, 4-diamond, 5-diamond award.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me encourage all of you that you can do this and you can be successful and you can serve customers and just go for that little extra degree. Many of life's failures, Thomas Edison, many of life's failures are men who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And we don't want that to be any of you listening today, right?
Exactly. I want to tell a story that may sound like a negative story, and I don't mean for it to, but during the pandemic, when it first started, you remember March of 2020?
Oh, I remember.
April, May,
yep.
All right, even in May. And we're talking 3 years ago right now.
Right.
There was so much uncertainty. We didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
And we weren't seeing agents in the office at that point. We were on lockdown. So I'd get phone calls from agents. And, one phone call would be, "Oh, Rich, man, this market, this is horrible. I've got no business. I've got no business coming. I have no idea where business is going to come from. It's time for me to retire." And you know what my response would be?
What?
You're right. It's probably a good time for you to retire.
If that's your mindset. Or what?
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's exactly. No, we're totally on the same wavelength
Okay.
there.
Right.
Because that's what their mindset was.
Right.
Because the next phone call I'd get would be somebody all fired up. Rich, I don't know what's going on with the marketplace, but man, I've never had so much business. Business is falling from the sky. I've got this deal happening. I've got this listing coming up. I've got this buyer is coming in here, and I don't even know how to show a house because we can't show houses yet. Remember when we had to show them virtually, and and it's like they're all fired up. They're all excited. There's things happening. Their business is on fire, and I'm going, yeah, right on, because that's their mindset. That's where they're at. And
yep,
the hardest part in life is the 6 inches between our ears.
it is, and that's where just to build on what you're saying. I remember those days vividly. Like you're bringing back memories for me, and we were
a little PTSD, I'm sure.
Into
but
the office,
yeah.
no, but we were in here, and we didn't know how we were going to do it, but we were going to teach agents how to adapt and how to take their business. And even though we were not allowed to go show properties or we were under lockdown, how could we still help people buy and sell and move their business virtually? And one of my favorite Facebook posts, one of the agents posted, 60 plus years old, and she said, I didn't know how I was going to proceed in this industry when we were under lockdown, but thanks to HomeSmart, they showed me how to show homes virtually, how to market my homes virtually, and I'm proud to say that I have a brand new listing that hit the market 3 days later. It had a full price offer, and I've never done anything like this in my life virtually, but was able to do that virtually. It was an agent up in Chicago.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
she had the mindset. She had the mindset of, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go after that extra degree. And she did it.
And sometimes that extra degree is out of our comfort zone. And she got out of her comfort zone.
And that wasn't about HomeSmart. That's not HomeSmart. That's about that agent's mindset. She, I've drawn a blank on her name. I wish I knew her name right now. But she was, and I can see her face. But it was her mindset. And then she took it to another level.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? We have
Fabulous.
the power. We can do that.
Yeah.
And that's where the big thing again, many of you just go after that extra degree. That's the point of us talking about this today. There's one more quote here I got to read before we talk about the opportunity, once you understand the concept. But the concept is, again, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. I actually start many of my PowerPoints with that phrase, and I didn't even realize it was here in this book until today. And it's one of my favorite.
If I remember correctly, that is a quote from Henry Ford.
It is a quote from Henry Ford. I'm sorry, I should have given credit.
No.
But that is a quote from Henry
So it's
Ford.
been around a day or two.
Yeah. And but if you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
And it's still relevant. And it's still correct.
It is. And I think back to my early days when I was a high school wrestler. And I will tell you that the matches that I lost were the wrestling match before I ever stepped on the mat. Because he had, the other opponent, but there were matches too. I remember one match in particular. My opponent, he looked so much stronger than me. He was bigger than me. I was like, he can't be in my weight class. He's 2 weight classes up from me. But at the time on that particular match, I just went out there anyway, and I actually won that match.
Awesome.
And my coach said something to me after about winning, about not letting the perception or letting my mind get in the way. And the funny thing was, that was early on in my career as a wrestler. The longer I went on, the more that the mind aspect actually got into it. And there were times then later on in sectionals or wherever, and I thought he was better than me, and I ended up losing. And now I wonder today, if I went back, what I could have done.
Right.
And so then it's a
Yeah.
lesson to me. I don't want other experiences like that in my life.
Yeah.
Right? I want to have the mindset all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of
We really
extra
do have to
212
control our
degree.
minds because
We do.
it's like a drunk monkey.
Right.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on
Yeah.
in there. And if we harness that and
Right.
we can direct it,
Right.
we can do some pretty amazing stuff.
Right. But anyway, that's this isn't about me or HomeSmart. This is about our agents.
Well, it is,
and their
though,
mindset.
Todd.
You know,
It is about you, and it's about me, and it's about all of you,
Right.
because you have stories too. And I am hoping that as Todd and I talk about this and relate it to our own lives, that you can relate it to your life as well, and you find an application and you find some truth
Right.
in it. So,
right.
so next we're going to talk about
let's
the
talk
opportunity.
about the opportunity. So
Yeah.
now that you understand that concept a little bit, someone shared this meme with me the other day. I just laughed. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast, can't see the visuals. There is a horse with a bridle tethered to a plastic patio chair, which the headline says, "Sometimes the thing that is holding you back is all in your head." Meaning that horse could take off running and drag that patio chair, and he'd be free as a bird.
Right? Yeah.
But he thinks he's tethered.
Yep.
So he's sitting there quietly, just waiting. And I know from discussions with you, you have a great story that talks about this mindset and about our mindset holding us back. Can you tell us all about Old Warwick?
Old Warwick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the story starts with this guy driving through some farmland. We'll make him a salesman just because we can. It doesn't matter what he does, but he's a salesman going from one place to another, and something happens, and he runs his car off the road into the ditch. And the car isn't damaged much, but he can't get it out of the ditch.
Stuck in the mud.
He's stuck,
Yep.
right? And so he sees a farmhouse off in the distance, and so he starts walking up to the farmhouse. And an old man comes out and greets him because it was a long walk up that road. And so he says, "Hey, I've got my car stuck in the ditch here." He says, "Do you have a tractor or something that we can pull my car out of the ditch?" And he goes, "No, I don't have a tractor." He goes, "But I got old Warwick over here." He goes, "Well, what's an old Warwick?" He goes, "Well, old Warwick's my mule." And he goes, "Well, you think one mule can pull my car out of the ditch?" And he goes, "Let's see." And so he grabs old Warwick, hooks him up to the harness, and hooks him up to the car. And he snaps the reins. And he says, "Pull, Duke! Pull, Gunner! Pull, Velvet! Pull, Ace! Pull, Warwick! Pull, pull, pull!" And Warwick starts pulling. And he pulls that car out of the ditch all by himself. And the salesman, he's standing there, he's just befuddled. He scratches his head and he goes, "That is absolutely amazing. That one mule is so strong to pull the car out of the ditch." He goes, "How does he do that?" And he goes, "Old Warwick, he's strong, but, he's also darn near blind. And so I used the other names. He thinks he's part of a team. And when he thinks he's part of a team, he's willing to pull just a little bit harder
Right.
for the sake of the team."
Love it.
And I think that's all of us.
It is. And it's also, just shows how the mind can limit that mule's ability. Like if they think
Exactly.
they're alone, okay, then, okay.
You know what?
But-
When we think we're all alone, we don't want to do a whole lot. But if we're part of a team,
Right.
or we have a partner, a husband, a wife, a child, a good friend, whoever it is, we've got somebody, we've got
Right.
a cohort, right?
Right,
We're willing to give it that one extra degree.
right, right,
And that little bit extra effort, just that little bit more.
right. or if you just don't believe in your abilities, right, enough, or you don't think you're mind limiting yourself before you ever even go into it, but then you do it, and then you find out later, okay, now maybe I can do this.
Right.
Maybe I can. Meaning, if that was one of us, and later on we're like, well, I learned I can do this. And once you learn that you can exceed your mind, then you can do more. So I think that opens us up to our third part of the breakdown here of 212 degrees. Is okay. So how do we apply this, to our lives and to our business, and more importantly, how do we achieve the thing that I've heard you say over and over again of seeking out the power of one more every day?
Right.
How do we apply it in our relationships? How do we apply it in our work? And
so in that sense, Todd, I actually am applying two different concepts, because the power of one more, I want to give credit where credit is due, and that's from Ed Milet, a podcaster, a professional speaker that I listen to regularly, and from his book, The Power of One More, and so it really is, doing that one more thing or going that one extra degree.
Right.
And in this case, how is that one extra degree going to show up in your life? How is it going to show up at work? How is it going to show up in your life with your spouse, with your children, with your parents? How can you be 1 degree better? How can you be 1 degree more attentive? How can you be 1 degree more loving, more caring, more passionate? Whatever it is, whatever emotion it is, whatever act it is.
So I want to read you one little excerpt out of the book, and it's talking about the power of one more and what you're actually, and how you can apply it at work. And it says, at work, make the extra contact each day, the extra sales call, the extra customer touch, the brief discussion with a colleague, the encouraging talk with a member of your team. With contact comes opportunity. At the end of a year, if you do this, you'll have opened up more than 200 additional doors of possibility.
Yeah.
And that's a practical application of applying the power of one more of that 212th degree.
Real life, everyday application.
Mm-hmm. And then on the next page next to it, it says, and then some. And then some.
And then some.
And then some. 3 little words. The secret to any success is what I call and then some syndrome. The power of these words captured in a short essay by Carl Holmes. I'm going to go ahead and read it real quick. And then some. 3 little words are the secret to success. They are the difference between average people and top people in most companies. The top people always do what is expected, and then some. They are thoughtful of others. They are considerate and kind, and then some. They meet their responsibilities fairly and squarely, and then some. They are good friends and helpful neighbors, and then some. They can be counted on in an emergency, and then some. I am thankful for people like this, for they make the world a better place. The spirit of service is summed up in these 3 little words, and then some. And we talk all the time about how real estate is about service. The spirit of service is summed up in these 3 little words, and then some. So for a realtor, a real estate agent, applying this to work, that extra phone call, you and I, before we started recording, you were talking about 1 extra meeting a week. That's 52 extra in a year.
Yeah.
It's that extra degree.
Yeah.
The extra business.
In real estate, we get so focused on work, and sometimes we just get myopic on it, and we forget about our friends, our relationships. And so one of the things that I was reading is, for our friendships, how about if we go out there and we connect with a friend every week, because if we don't, and I'm talking about scheduling it.
Sure.
Maybe not scheduling it with them, but maybe we do. Whatever it is, but whatever, whatever we do, give them a call, meet them for coffee, go have a cocktail. Whatever it is you do, but be consistent with it and connect with your friendships. And that's 52, if you do it every week, that's 52 deeper connections with your friends over the course of the year.
So as I've gotten older, this resonates with me very, very deeply, because as I've gotten older, I've realized that at some point along the way, I stopped doing some of that, and I want to do that more.
Well, I think we all stopped doing that 3 years ago during the pandemic.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what
truly,
it was. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely
Right.
drew a line in the sand. Whether we were doing a great job of it before or not,
Right.
during the pandemic, we did none of it.
Right.
Although we might have picked up the phone, we might have texted, but I mean, we all had that disconnect
Right.
from other people.
Right.
And I think we're just starving for that now.
Right. But, you know, in real estate, let's talk.
Yeah.
Because in our personal lives, okay, in our personal lives, yeah, it's that scheduled reach out to a friend on a regular basis so we don't lose touch with them. You know, it's the scheduling of the phone call, or just making the effort and making the phone call and reaching out, having lunch. But then in work, you know, it's the one extra phone call. Or I'm going to stay and I'm going to do 5 more phone calls. Or instead of, we were talking on an earlier podcast about texting or about neighborhood reports.
Yeah.
And they came up, can you really do 10 a day? We're busy. You know, okay. Well, how about we make the commitment or the effort where I'm going to set it out there and I'm going to make the time to do it. I'm going to get up an hour early.
Maybe that is your one more, is
Yeah.
committing to doing the 10
Right.
each day.
Yeah. Because the
No
more
matter
engagement-
what, I'm
Right.
going to do these 10.
But the more engagement you
Yeah.
have, the more it will impact your life. I think that's the message that I take away. You know,
Yeah.
You did a presentation at our Growth Summit, and you had a couple quotes up on the screen. I stole them from your presentation real quick. So every year we go to Las Vegas at our national convention, and Rich was a speaker this year's Growth Summit. You know, our theme was go beyond our mindset, go beyond the barriers or the restrictions that are before us in the real estate industry, right?
Right.
And you had a quote, the greater danger for most of us lies in not setting our aim too high, but falling short. Oh, excuse me. The greater danger for most of us lies in not setting our aim too high and falling short, but rather in setting our aim too low and achieving our mark.
Right.
I don't know who that quote's from. I hope I didn't cut off a name on that one, but it was from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great quote.
Yeah, so sometimes we set our goals at a level that we know that we can
hit.
attain them, and that's not stretching us.
It's not. So an interesting thing, I didn't put this, when the 4-minute mile
Yeah.
was broken.
Yeah, I love
There
this
was
story.
a lot of debate about Roger
It's
Bannister.
not humanly possible
It's not
to move that
humanly
fast.
possible. They
Yeah.
didn't think it was humanly possible. So
Yeah.
for like 20 years, they would get to 4.01, 4 whatever. They
Yep.
could never
Yep.
get below 4 minutes. But I think that, you know, Roger Bannister, when he was training and doing his 4-minute mile, he set his goal of 3 minutes and 45 seconds. You know,
Right.
because he knew that his body would break down at some point and slow him down.
Right.
But he set his mindset at 3:45 and pushed and pushed.
So he,
and
I don't
pushed
think he ever
early.
made 3:45.
No,
by the way.
I'm saying
No,
I
but he
no,
did.
he broke the 4-minute mile.
Broke the 4-minute mile, and then within weeks, within months, so many others had.
20 other
because-
people made it
Yeah.
within like
because
50 days.
they
after
believed that
him.
it was possible.
All of a sudden it was possible.
The 6 inches between our
The
ears.
6 inches between our ears. So it goes. The greater danger again
Yeah.
for us lies not in setting our aim too high and then falling short. So he didn't set his, you know, his aim too high. He actually set it high, and then he came through.
Yeah.
Most people set their aim too low, and they're just going to set their aim right at that. Well, 4.01's pretty good, you know, right? No, he pushed it. And,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
So anyway, another quote that you had, Oh, and I know who this one is from. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to the name. This is a Vince Lombardi quote,
Yes, it is.
and it talks
I
about
love this quote.
Read it. You
Vince,
read it. See,
Vince is.
it's your
I,
presentation.
I love Vince, and he's so motivational. I love the story. But in any event, this quote is: "The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor." So you can do anything in life, and as long as you are committing yourself to excellence in that field, or in that endeavor, or in that project, then there you go. It's a commitment here.
It's
It's a
fulfilling.
commitment in your heart. It's a commitment in your head.
And the quality of your life will mirror that.
It will.
It
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
One more, and then we'll just wrap it up here a little bit. But excellence
Yep.
is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. Booker T. Washington.
Love that too.
Yep. And that's that extra degree. It's
It
going the extra mile. You know, this is impactful. This is powerful.
It's simple.
And
This is really simple stuff. We don't need to overcomplicate it or complicate it, let alone overcomplicate it.
So I'm going to speak directly to the real estate audience. The Real Estate Podcast is designed to help you real estate agents take your business to a next level. I'm going to be very candid about a few of my experiences. There's been times when I've met some of you newer to the business, and you didn't know any better to know that you couldn't go sell 40 homes in a year. And in your first year in real estate, or your second year, or your third year, you just went after it and you crushed it and sold a ton of homes.
Yeah.
And then there's been others that they think, well, I'm new to the industry, so it's got to ramp up. It's got to start slow, and then it's going to go to this and go to that, or, you know. And then there's even agents that have been around for a while, and they've had a very successful business, but all of a sudden things slow down. And they're like, wow, things are slowing down, and it affects their business. And there's other people that it doesn't matter what the industry does, they adapt. And they've changed, and they just keep marching through, and they do the same number of transactions this year that they did last year, even though it's slowed down.
What do you think the difference is, Todd?
It's the 6 inches between their ears.
Yeah.
It's their mindset.
Yeah.
It really is. And there are some that are I am going to adapt no matter what. I'm going to find ways to help my buyers. Right now, we have a challenge in our industry with inventory and with affordability.
Right.
And there are some agents that are going to make it their goal to remove those barriers. They're going to help their clients figure out a way to afford that home.
And we've talked about this a
Yeah.
few other times about the number of sales that are going to take place even in this market.
Right.
And while sales may be down compared to most recent years, there's still a lot of sales happening.
Right.
4.5 to 5.5 million
Right.
Sales this year. That's a lot of sales.
Right.
You know?
I
We
was-
just need to go get ours, right?
So
that's
to
what
give
we're all
you
about.
some encouragement, I was talking to a newer agent the other day, and year one in the business, 4 transactions, and then they got connected with someone who gave them a checklist of what to do. And 32, 36 transactions, that year. And all it was they followed a plan. The plan said, if I do this, I can go do this. And their mindset was, I can go do this. And they just did it. And
Without overthinking it.
Without overthinking it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of an agent that hired a coach. And and the coach told them what they already knew and what they were doing, but the coach just told them what they could do, and then they did it. And then what was the difference in your business? Well, my coach. My coach planned it out for me, and I just did what my coach said.
My coach coached me to get out of my own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where our hope with all of you, the 212 degrees, that extra degree at 211 degrees, water's hot. 212 degrees, it boils. When it boils, it creates steam, and steam can power a locomotive. You can do this. Apply this concept to your business.
So we really hope that you've enjoyed this today. This really is a conversation between Todd and I. And so if you enjoyed listening in, let us know. We had a blast doing this. Again, hope you enjoyed it.
Well, every day we wake up and our goal is to help
Yeah.
you grow your business. And we hope we provide insights for you and help you do that. And we also want to provide you the encouragement. And this inspires me. I hope it inspires all of you. And we thank you for joining us here today on the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Todd Sumney.
I'm Rich LaRue, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time around. Take care.
Like what you're hearing on The Real Estate? Tell your friends about us. Tell them to check out all of our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to send any topics you want us to tackle to therealestate@homesmart.com.